And without further ado, I want to welcome Lamia and Joelle to the Future Picks podcast this month. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you both here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's
Thank you.
a pleasure to be here.
So I want to start with the introductions of you both. Please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your journey in the airline industry so far, and also what led up to your journey to joining Branchspace. Lamia, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Okay. Hi. Thank you for having me here. So I've worked at Emirates Airlines Revenue Management for around 17 years, where I was fortunate to work very closely with nearly every function of commercial revenue management. I started in revenue management systems and eventually led the implementation of three significant transformation initiatives, OND RTDP implementation being one of them. Then I've managed on the commercial side, inventory, and pioneered fare-based point of sale strategies, led teams managing demand pricing groups, and worked with ancillary bundling strategies, spearheaded FIFA World Cup strategy, and survived major changes to the PSS. Then at FLYR Amsterdam, I supported airlines bridging the gap between business requirements and product offerings, supported implementation, leading RFI, RFP processes, and workshops in adopting the FLYR's revenue management system and modern retailing offer and order management solution. In my current role at Branchspace, I'm now interested in the offer order management solutions as Senior Consulting Manager, Modern Airline Retailing. I support airlines in their OOSD and digital transformation journey, including the scoping, RFI, RFP process, defining complex business requirements, business case for ROI, organizational transition and target architecture, and the stages of migrating to complete OOSD.
Wow, that is quite a journey, Lamia. And Joelle, let's hear your side of the story.
Sure. So, yes, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to try to keep it short, but I really wonder how much time I have with this talking about me and my career. But anyway, as you can tell, Joelle Cavalier, that's kind of a French name. It's got a French sound to it. I'm European by birth, but I moved to the United States about 25 years ago on a job opportunity. And then I've been here ever since. I'm based in Dallas, in Texas, and starting my journey in the airline industry. Oh my goodness. I started as a part-time ticket agent in a French airport. It was supposed to be a student job. It was supposed to be temporary. It was supposed to be something that I would do to kind of pay the bills and fill the blanks until I find the big breakthrough of my career. But anyway, I fell in love with the airline industry. So I started really in operational circles, right? Ticket counter, check-in counter, airport counters. Then I learned all about ticketing and reservations. In those days, and I know I'm going to date myself, but in those days, believe it or not, for a very short time, I learned the skill of writing tickets. So tickets handwritten and bag tags handwritten for a very short time until the airline got automated and we got a reservation system, and then we had to learn all the automation. So, but it was super interesting. So I went from there to a GDS, and I actually in my career I've worked for 3 different GDSs, but also regulatory bodies, here I go, such as IATA and Airline Reporting Corporation in Washington, D.C. So I've seen the distribution side of the airline industry. By distribution, I mean travel sellers, agencies, online travel agencies selling airline tickets and other products, as well as airline solutions. So really working on airline system like you have done and you continue to do, Lamia. So really, I've had the whole broad spectrum of the industry, and I've been able to kind of witness a lot of changes in automation and also be able to see what's really needs to be done and continue to be done in this industry that is in constant evolution. So I went from paper tickets to electronic tickets to now offer and order. And the story continues. I did retire from my professional career earlier this year, but I guess I wasn't done entirely. And so I came back and joined Branchspace as an advisor. I really enjoy working there. I think I'm super happy that I'm able to contribute to the future of the industry still for a few more years to come.
That's great, fabulous paths. Everything was just so interesting. And the handwritten tickets, that is something I did not expect to hear. But to your point, going from handwritten tickets to automated tickets to now, when we get deeper into the conversation, that automation and what the transformation looks like today is just so spectacular to hear about,
Sure.
and leads very well into our first kind of real topic, which is you have both transitioned between airlines and vendors of all different sizes. And so, Lamia, for you in particular, spending nearly 2 decades at Emirates and FLYR, leading major revenue management, OOSD, and transformation projects. I'm curious, as you moved from the airline side to consulting, which skills carried over naturally and very smoothly, or which did you have to, say, adapt or learn to deliver to achieve that measurable ROI for airlines?
Thanks. That's a great question. So, moving from Emirates, one of the largest airlines in the world, and hot sunny Dubai to FLYR, a startup vendor, and not that warm Amsterdam, was a very big change. Professionally, my expertise in airline commercial and revenue management, experience with complex system implementation, knowledge of the airline ecosystem, and a lot of soft skills carried over seamlessly. What I had to adapt was how I applied that knowledge across diverse airline ecosystems around the world with different business models, technical architecture, work culture, and some incredibly talented people in a fast paced, agile way. So, on one day, I'm working with an airline full service carrier in the Middle East on product catalog and stock keeper. And on another day, I'm conducting a workshop on ancillary revenue management for a budget carrier in Europe. So, supporting business teams, brainstorming with IT teams, engaging with industry thought leaders, and showcasing ROI to C level executives. It was always in agile and dynamic mode. And I adapted to this dynamic life with an accelerated learning curve, moving from internal execution to external advisory. And now I enjoy consulting to airlines on their OSD implementation and digital transformation.
I really appreciate you say that final line. Yeah, the finding that balance between the two. And Joelle, on your side, having worked across the industry for both consulting and airlines, how do you personally balance empathy for internal pressures that an airline might be feeling with remaining objective, for when it comes to the requirements to initiate bold and sometimes some disruptive changes?
Yeah, yes, of course. So you're right. So airlines really currently are under tremendous pressure, right? They're under tremendous pressure to modernize. They are all on a PSS system, a passenger services system, which has become over time extremely complex and difficult to upgrade because of, for a number of reasons, and a number of solutions have been added to it over time. But at the same time, what is pushing airlines to really modernize is the consumer. Like you, like me, we are online all the time. We use different solutions in different industries, right? We all have Netflix, I suppose, or Prime Video or Amazon. And then we encounter there very highly sophisticated retailing solutions in these industries. Yet when you go on an airline website, it's still very much regulated. You still have the origin destination box that you need to fill in first. You need to put your name. So in comparison, right, in short, in comparison, the airline industry, in comparison to other online retailers or modern retailers, is a little bit behind. And why is that? Well, it's a heavily regulated industry, as you already know. And there's the complexity also of the systems that are existing right now. It is also not easy to transfer from the existing system to a new system. Why? Because you have operational priorities, right? Airplanes need to take off, reservations need to continue, disruptions need to be handled. So there's a really heavy operational aspect. And then at the end of the day, the mission of an airline is what? Is to carry customers and passengers from point A to point B. It's not really to be a technology company. So they all feel the pressure, the cost containment, of course, the need for additional revenue, the competition. There's a lot more competition than there was in the past. So at the end of the day, airlines know they need to modernize. But the problem that they have is that they don't know where to start. Where do I start? Sure, there are some industry standards. You have the new distribution capability, NDC. You have leading regulatory bodies such as IATA who are really trying to drive standards so that it's easier for each airline to modernize. But then at the end of the day, each airline is a specific case. And what makes Branchspace unique, and how I believe Branchspace is a pivotal position and has the ability to change this, is that first of all is the experience of the people at Branchspace. From what I have seen, the horizons are very diverse, but also the expertise is really deep and phenomenal in that. Just like Lamia, airline background, GDS background, PSS background, having been on the commercial side, having been on the product side. So the put that together, Branchspace can really offer this wide variety of deep expertise across airlines and across vendors. So being completely vendor agnostic, I think, is one of the major advantages that Branchspace presents. We're really there to help airline understand what they need to ask, what are their criteria based on their own technology stack. And as I was saying earlier, every airline has a specific technology stack, and every airline is a specific use case. So to me, that's what that's the appeal, actually, of working at Branchspace and being Branchspace.
I really appreciate you saying those things and breaking it down almost into, I think I counted about 4 major components. Yeah, feeling that pressure to modernize, and what's really finally convincing the industry is those consumer expectations. And you have elements of heavy regulation. Maybe that's point 2. Point 3, I had the operational priorities. So it's not just what they're feeling externally from, say, consumers or government or regulatory agencies, but within their own operations. And then 4, which is, I think, a question when you're entering a new project, is where do I start? We're selling, or even not even selling, we're paving the path, paving a way to create this harmonious industry that is reflective of the e-commerce experiences that consumers experience every day. So,
Correct.
yeah, that was very well broken down. And you talked about that global trust, and the credibility that comes into that and is required in order to pave that path. So, Lamia, the range of expertise that you have, what, in your opinion, builds that credibility fastest? Is it, say, the technical expertise, a solid track record to deliver, or the ability to translate complex ideas into outcomes that executives understand and can take action on?
Yeah, that's a great question, Clarissa. So I think it's a combination of all three. But however, while technical expertise and a track record of delivery are essential, what truly sets one apart is the ability to connect the dots. So basically showing how a system implementation or a retailing transformation directly is going to impact revenue, cost, customer experience, as we talked about earlier and Joel mentioned, and address the user pain points. In my experience, I find that when you can translate these complex technical concepts in clear strategic outcomes, bridge the business needs and user pain points with solutions, and articulate the ROI in a language that the executives care about, that helps to earn trust. And also, the passion for travel and experience of the airline ecosystem binds us together with the travel teams and the airline teams. So, since I have been on their side of the fence, they know I can relate to their business needs and understand their pain points And that certainly helps to increase the trust and credibility.
Yeah, that's really well said. The connecting all three, it's easy to go option D, all of the above, but to then say there's a reason behind that because you can't just do one of those things. And the list could be longer. The list could be 15 or 50 items. It doesn't matter, but it's somehow, yeah, finding the nuance of the common denominator behind all three. And on the global aspect across regions, Joelle, I'm really interested to learn about the Americas and where reputation there and relationships are highly valued. How do you build trust with airlines that particularly already have long-standing vendor partners?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's not an easy answer. But at the end of the day, and you said it correctly, and Lamia said it correctly as well, I think relationship matters. And I will argue that it's not just in the Americas, it's a global aspect of the trade. Is that you rely on what? How do you make a selection on vendors, on solutions? Well, of course, you look at what the vendor has to say, but at the same time, what you do also is you read reviews. I'm going to go back to the online experience. We all read reviews. I think the good old days of advertising is over. Why should I trust advertising when I can get some real feedback and return on experience from real customers, right? So I, as a consumer, I will go on TripAdvisor to before I select a hotel or something like that to just see, hey, what are the others saying about this? And then the same goes for our industry and for helping airlines move to offer an order. And with Branchspace's help is the word of mouth. So I think Branchspace is very fortunate to have an excellent reputation out there in the market. And that has been evidence. And this is one of the things that I love the most is our NPS score. We've got an NPS score for returning customer that is absolutely out of this world, unbelievable. So, but how to get there, how to open the door, how to kind of get airlines to actually trust us with such a fundamental and, to be honest, expensive change. Well, you just need to, building trust is not something that is something that you earn. It's not something that you get automatically. And you can get that through, again, word of mouth, referral from other customers, and also existing relationships. So I think that in all the meetings that I have attended with airlines, you can tell that airlines are sometimes, and Lamia, you probably will agree with me, they're like on the fence. Should I move to offer an order? Should I not? Should I wait and see what the others are doing? Interestingly enough, in the Americas, NDC took off really quickly. And, the big airlines in the Americas all have adopted NDC and have a percentage of adoption that is decent, I would say. But when it comes to offer an order, there's a lot more pause. And there's a lot more, let's wait and see what the others are doing. And so that is something that at the end of the day, every airline will have to overcome because we are beyond the point of no return. And I think we have completely justified the need for simplification. But I think what is really convincing the airlines to move and make the jump is a solid business case. And together with Branchspace, airlines are able to go in front of their board and put together and present concrete facts and concrete figures to justify the cost containment, the increase in revenue, the competitiveness, and the simplification that is required, and that will generate all these cost savings and these incremental revenue. And I think once the business case is solid, and that is the first step towards moving in the direction of modern retailing. Once the business case is solid, then I think it's I can't say it's downhill from there because implementation is going to be long and we're transforming an industry really fundamentally. So I think, but the hard part in terms of justification is done. And then after that, it's about getting results. It's about implementing in phases at the speed that the airline feels comfortable with and take it from there. That's kind of my experience.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I actually have a follow-up for you. Earlier in your response, you were talking about this breakdown of organic customer feedback. Do you feel that that's lacking right now in the industry, especially when we are in intellectual explosion. And there is a lot of feedback coming from all angles to companies. Do you ever feel like maybe the industry can deviate too much or focus too much even on those organic customer feedback?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a little bit of that, definitely. And I think again, since this modern retailing and transformation in the airline industry is only in its infancy, we're lacking factual data. We're lacking really concrete and solid examples, although they are coming. And every day that goes by, and every day that an airline implements one piece of offer and order and delivery, I think we're getting better at clearly understanding not only the challenges but also the opportunities. I do think that we need to gain more organic customer feedback, and also the industry is very varied. Each airline is a unique business case. Each airline has a unique tech stack. And I think Branchspace has discovered that we really have to build a repository or a library, if you will, of use cases. Use cases that pertain to a certain airline may not pertain to another, but it's interesting feedback to receive. And I think Branchspace is also growing their knowledge bank with every customer, with every implementation, with every consulting opportunity. We are also growing together with the customer and growing this knowledge bank, growing this use case library. And this way, we are becoming even more useful to our customers.
JP said something similar, that the common vocabulary
Correct.
across the industry to create that harmony. And you're right. Thank you for pointing that out. I don't have enough data to really understand that, have enough cases of customer feedback. And maybe I should have clarified as not so much within the industry, but e-commerce in general. Because again, why is every other industry able to do this and seeing record? But if you're not feeling pressure from other competitors in your own industry, because no one's doing it to the level that we hope for it to be done, then what is the incentive essentially?
That's right.
And so a lot has been kind of tiptoed around OOM. And so now we're going to really dive into the specific topic. So I am first really interested, Lamia, to know more about, as airlines are migrating towards full offer and order management systems, what has been the most unexpected driver of value based on your work with MAR, or modern airline retailing, and OOSD?
Right. So, one of the most unexpected drivers of value has been the opportunity that OOSD gives airline commercial teams to clean up the IT legacy complexity and align the organizational structure. So, as Joel also mentioned in the initial responses, that the airlines today, they have so much of legacy tech that has been added. Literally, it's like layers over the years. And when they start scoping, they realize how many add-on systems and processes were built over the years to patch the legacy tech limitations. And then they also notice the organizational silos that have been created. So, beyond the fantastic technical and commercial benefits that OSD brings in, and the OSD implementation actually becomes a catalyst for optimizing the architecture, eliminating the legacy debt, and uncovering inefficiencies, breaking the silos, which is very important that we see as a value add, and consolidating the organizational governance structures and achieving a broader strategic alignment.
I actually had never thought about that, because even if an airline, say, has the resources, is ready to go, wants to work with, say, Branchspace, Transform Consulting, and start that RFI process, it's almost like when you do spring cleaning, you don't really know how intense and how many layers of grime there is until you start the cleaning process. And so it can really scare airlines a bit or make them nervous, because then it becomes very overwhelming to understand. To Joelle's point, well, where do we start? And so, in one way, you're right. OOM is to solve all of that, so you don't have those add-on layers in the future. and to make it optimized in the long term for your business goals.
And a lot of wealth of expertise of people who had started and implemented that has got lost either through the years or through COVID. So it's very important for someone like a Branchspace, an external person, an external entity, to come in with that viewpoint and identify that, okay, this is what is complex, this is really needed, question what is really required.
Yeah, I've noticing a common trend between both of you of it might not always be, do we have the resources for it, or is this right for our market? But what are the right questions to ask? Answering a question with more questions. And so, with that being said, Joelle, many airlines in the Americas are still, to your point, evaluating OOM and whether they're ready for it. What signals tell you that an airline is ready to take that next step? And how does Branchspace help identify the right entry point for that immediate 1% revenue uplift?
Yeah, so that's a great question. But let me start by saying that I think Lamia is my soul sister, because everything she said earlier, I really, really agree with. In my career, I've had the opportunity to see all these layers of solutions that were built on top of, and they were at the time and in the state of the technology of those days, it was the right decision. I'm not criticizing and saying the airlines made the wrong decision. No, no, no. Everybody made the right decisions in the industry meetings to launch certain products, whether it's electronic ticketing, back office accounting, other modules. And they did that, making the best decisions with the technology available at the time. But as you all know, technology evolves. And now we're ending up with an extremely complex set of solutions in an airline ecosystem that is difficult to manage. Every airline will tell you that. I remember recently talking to a large airline here in the US who was telling me to add an ancillary to our product catalog, we have to interface with no less than 30 different departments, internal and external. So it is very, very complex. It requires a lot of synchronization. And why, right? Why do that? So airlines are confronted with a lack of agility when they want to be competitive and implement a new solution or a new ancillary or a new bundle of products. They are, instead of being an enabler, their technology kind of slows them down. And that's not where you want to be. And that is the root of the reason why we are, as an industry, modifying. We're just not throwing money at technologies just for the sake of technology, but really because it's a need. I will say this though, and I think this is super important for offer and order, as opposed to the other migrations. I have done in my career dozens of migrations. And by that, I mean an airline is not happy or that wants to change their current provider and they will move to another. So we call that a PSS migration. Typically, it takes between, I want to say, a year and a half, 2 years would be an average, right, Lamia? You would say kind of up to 4 years or even more, depending on the complexity of the airline, because it's really open heart surgery, right? You're replacing a vendor with another. I have done that many times in my career, and it's always the same thing. You kind of have to, you're faced with a knife edge cut over. So you basically unplug and unplug a system, plug back another. But those days are gone. I honestly believe those days are gone. Why? Because knife edge cutovers are not realistic any longer. And the unique advantage that I think offer and order presents is the ability to modularize. You don't need to turn off operations. You don't need to go dark even for 30 minutes to switch to a new system. You don't need to do any of this. You can implement in your own pace. So if you're an airline and you are ready to go and you have the budget, you built your business case, you got the approval from your board, and you have the resources, then of course you can go faster and you can implement modules one after another a lot faster. Or you can say, look, here is the primary problem I want to solve. This is my priority. And you focus on that. And the beauty of offer and order is that you can actually modularize in a way that you can address your priorities first and your pain point first. And you can do that without having to do any sort of big bang cut over. You can do that in a modularized fashion. And Branchspace is very well aware of that. And we are sharing that experience with our customers. And we are helping them understand what exactly are your priorities. And it's not just a conversation on the surface. In my experience, we really go deep in the details of the airline challenges and opportunities. What are they trying to accomplish? And we can build a program that is modularized based on each airline's individual priorities. And that is, in my opinion, the beauty of offer and order. It's that the airline can go at their own pace. Now, there are other aspects of this transformation that are less talked about, but equally important. One of them is the business process adjustment. If in the current world, let me give you an example. If in the current world, you have a desk that with agents specialized in reissues or exchanges or disruptions, with the new offer and order system, you may not need that desk anymore. You can repurpose these employees to something else. So that's just an example among so many. Monitoring queues. There's no more queues, right? We all know the old queue system, right, Lamia? This is no longer needed in an offer and order modern retailing environment. So there is a business process adjustment that is required also, that we're trying to help airline understand and grasp and also quantify. And that can also, in a way, modifying their priorities. And then last but not least, why would airline move to offer and order? Well, a lot of airlines are in alliances, as you know. And I think there's going to be a pull from airline members. If you're in an alliance where everybody has moved to offer and order, chances are you're going to have to move as well, right? So there is going to be like a internal emulation among alliance members to kind of all move to this modern retailing solutions, which is going to have different flavors depending on which airline we're talking about, and modularized differently as well. But altogether, I think every airline is ultimately going to move in the same direction.
Okay, we've got a lot of really, really great takeaways from that, Joelle. Yeah, and both the way you both break things down is in a very cohesive way. I really appreciate that. Joelle, on your component, you said open heart surgery. A PSS migration can sometimes feel like open heart surgery, and so that's a really great picture to paint and help people understand just how complicated it is, but also the different elements that come into play depending on the airline and the alliances that you're in. And you already touched on this, both of you touched on this at different points throughout our conversation. But we always have to ask, how is Branchspace? What is their role in paving the way to innovation? In your words, Joelle, I'm curious, you've been with Branchspace for a few months now. What makes consulting culture here a breath of fresh air for our clients in comparison to, say, legacy vendors or consultants?
That's a great question, Clarissa. So I think our value add over here for Branchspace is that one of our most compelling strengths lies in our deep, long-standing involvement with airlines who've already started on the modern airline retailing journey and who are actually pioneers in that, right? So if you think about airlines like British Airways, Air France, KLM, so we are deeply involved with them, and it's from the start of that journey. So Branchspace has been their trusted partner each step of the way, shaping the transformation from drafting the RFI, RFP requirements through the vendor selection, the contract negotiation, and now they're also working with us for the implementation and the transition phases. So this kind of shows our expertise, and as Joelle mentioned earlier, it is also expanding our knowledge base, but at the same time, we are working live on real-time problems, and our approach is then grounded in real-world experience. So all our OSD requirements, which we are now working on for future as well, are informed by hands-on involvement in live implementation. We are there on the ground, we are seeing what is happening, and we are taking that experience back. So we are not simply repackaging legacy technology requirements. As Joel mentioned earlier, we challenge the assumptions. We reimagine the processes. Yes, they were laid down for a valuable reason. There were some constraints all those years back. We couldn't do away with them. But today, do we need these processes? Do we need these systems? So we at Branchspace add value and we evaluate whether that existing legacy tech, organizational structures, and practices truly add value in the new world. Or is it just because, oh, it's too difficult to get out of, which we are hearing? Or this is how we've always done it around here. These are common responses which we do hear. So we at Branchspace are there to work with you to not be scared to step into this whole offer order journey, but by partnering with us, you gain access to a team that not only understands the details and complexities of OSD, but one that is helping define and deliver it in practice. Thank you.
No, thank you. Again, very, very well said. And I think I counted about 5 or 6 points there. So I definitely want to re-listen and make sure I jot those down. And for all of our listeners today, I highly recommend you do the same. Joelle, I got to ask you, you mentioned earlier that you actually retired for a bit, and I'm curious what inspired you to return from retirement and join Branchspace. And does that reflect the momentum that we're building with airlines in the Americas?
Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. All of the above and everything Lamia said, I think is it was really, really on point. I think what makes us unique. Well, first of all, you're asking me why get out of retirement? Were you bored? No, not really. But I think what is unique, and I think you can sense this in this podcast, is the passion. I think the passion is extremely important, and Branchspace has impressed me with the level of passion that all these experts provide day to day into and put into the work and into the success of our airline customers. I've been impressed with the humility. I've been impressed with the culture and also the fun, because at the end of the day, why get out of retirement if it's not for fun, right? So with all of these things, I mean, rule 101 of consulting is you need to, of course, you work hard, but you need to have fun. And I'm having fun. I'm having a ton of fun. But more seriously, and to the point that Lamia was talking about before, the level of expertise I'm encountering at Branchspace is second to none. It's completely unique in the sense that it's a blend of technology and strategy knowledge. In other words, it's not technology for the sake of technology. Is technology for the sake of, is it meeting the airline's business goals? Is it going to fulfill the promises of the business case? And Branchspace has got this unique talent, I believe, to actually marry the two together, strategy and technology, to provide unique recommendations and solutions to the airlines that are not just a bunch of PowerPoints that are, staying at the surface. We're doing way more than scratching the surface. We are going to a level that I had never seen before from a consulting firm. And I think that is what sets us apart. Also, another thing, and I touched upon that before, that also sets us apart is our transparency and neutrality. We are vendor agnostic, but we do have a lot of experience with the likes of Sabre, Amadeus, Excelia, FLYR, all the vendors out there. We have that experience combined. And I think that's extremely important to bring neutrality to this process, because at the end of the day, what is at the core of the transformation is the success of the airline. And success can be measured in different ways. It really depends, again, as I was saying earlier, on the airline's priority. But at the end of the day, I think we have enough experience and enough concrete use cases to be able to adjust to any airline's priorities and to any airline's speed of transformation. As we were saying before, not everybody's going at the same speed. Not everybody's going to modularize it.
Very well said. Yeah, thank you so much. There was several similarities between your responses. And I think actually it's a good thing because it means that you're both coming in from very different backgrounds and situations and living in different places and on a day-to-day basis. But your takeaways about Branchspace in relationship to the industry where we stand and the current needs or desires in the industry are similar. So that speaks very loud. And from not repackaging legacy tech to asking the right questions at the right time to the right airlines to having fun and passionate. What's the saying? If you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. So
Correct.
I think that's what we strive for here at Branchspace, along with providing that next level, modern, world class strategy and technology. And for a final question to both of you on the serious stuff, I have one more fun question afterwards. But Lamia, I'd love to hear on your respective domain. What are the biggest trends that you see emerging? And is Branchspace poised to deliver value in consulting and technology in respect to that trend or next phase?
So thanks for our fun conversation. It was really nice to hear Joel, and yeah, a lot of points resonating over here, common, and same thing working on the PSS as an open heart surgery, done that as well. So I feel that. So, coming back to your question, Clarissa, so one of the biggest emerging trends today is we hear it everywhere, all around us. Everyone is talking about AI, but specifically in the airlines as well. We notice that all the airlines want to leverage AI, and it's a fantastic opportunity to do that because it's not just for pricing and revenue management, but when you think about the capabilities and the opportunity available with total revenue optimization, offer and margin optimization, dynamic offer bundling, better personalization and customer segmentation, end-to-end retailing, and there are a number of use cases where we can use AI. And at Branchspace, we are positioned to deliver value because we combine the consulting depth with the technology expertise. And as you can see, sitting over here, even Joel with all our expertise and number of experts on the panel over here, experience and are supporting airlines to define the business requirements, build the transition roadmap, evaluate solutions and vendors, and all of us together, we can quantify the ROI for revenue management and offer an order management that's powered by AI. And we also add value in the business process transformation. So Joel did touch on it earlier. And we support not only the technology transition, but also how to reshape the organizational structure and the business processes to maximize value coming out from the modern and retailing and AI. So
Really bringing into play, yeah, how Branchspace, our core values and missions can be supported, whether it's current trends or trends 20 years down the road that we're experiencing now. And it'll be very exciting to see how AI develops. Is there anything about travel, any aspect, any touch point in travel that you personally would be the most excited to see AI come into play?
I think one of the biggest use cases that would interest me and excite me is how we can basically use the personalization and customization, the information that we can get to build personalized offers. If I'm someone who's traveling with a family and I want to have a stopover, don't give me a offer which doesn't meet my needs. If I'm someone who's traveling purely for business, send me an offer which is customized to the way how I like to travel always. I want to sit in a particular seat. Recognize that at the first instance without me having to spend a lot of time doing that. So I think there is a potential there that is immense. And once we are able to harness all of those capabilities, that is something where the industry can go towards. I think that would be a great use case. And we're already seeing improvements happening there, but there is still a lot that can be done in using all that data to harness these capabilities over there for customer segmentation and personalization.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people could agree with that. You said recognize your preferences, recognize that in the first instance, not after I've interacted several times. There's a lot more we could say on this topic about how you actually implement that in regards to, data collection, security, privacy, but we'll save that for our next episode with you both. So thank you so much for that response. And then Joelle, over to you. What are the biggest trends that you're excited or that you see emerging currently? And how do you see Branchspace poised to deliver such results?
Yeah, so again, a great question. And again, Lamia said it really, really perfectly, and I couldn't agree with her more. Contextualization, personalization, and AI at the service of that purpose is really important. There is you can tell I live in Texas. There is a country music singer called Toby Keith who had a song called I Want to Talk About Me. And it's true. Passengers, they want to talk about them. Don't give them offers that are not pertinent to them. Then it sounds like spam, right? And then the consumer will tune you out. So modern retailing is all about that too. But in addition to what Lamia was saying, and remember, I started my career at an airport. I think there's still a lot to do on the airport side of things in terms of, and this is what we call in the industry delivery. This is where the airline promise becomes a reality. This is where the airline delivers. Right. And so to me, everything that happens in the airport is poised for transformation, and specifically biometrics. I think biometrics is taking off in a way that I absolutely love. Now, of course, as you were saying earlier, Clarissa, and Lemon was saying as well, there are privacy concerns. There's a number of things that need to be regulated, just like AI. But to me, biometrics is such an enhancement to your traveler's journey. In the US, there is a program called Global Entry where you can you no longer have to show your passport. You can go through immigration just with your biometrics characteristic, and the immigration officer will call you by your first name and say, hey, you can go through. And it takes 2 minutes. And it's so long lines at immigrations are no longer necessary. So that's a trend. And of course, airlines, and that's for immigration, but airlines are also using biometrics to expedite the boarding process. The boarding process is always such a tedious process. With biometrics, it's going a lot faster, and it makes it easier for customers to board in an organized yet efficient manner. And I think that's a trend that is going to continue to evolve with the right structure and the right regulation, of course. Then another trend that I see also is loyalty. Remember, with all the online sales that airlines are doing, competition is only one click away. So you need to really build customer loyalty. And to me, one of the major pillars of customer loyalty is user experience. If we've all witnessed that, if you have a good user experience with a website, you tend to return to it. If it takes you forever and it's confusing and the real estate or the information is hard to find on a website, you're going to be less likely to be loyal. It's not the only thing, of course, that brings customer loyalty, but it's one of the pillars. And to me, I think there is a growing trend to make airline website more user-friendly, more AI-driven, so personalized. And I think that is a trend that needs to continue. And that's not only in our industry, but it's in all the industry. And I know personally, I have grown very impatient with websites that do not deliver according to my expectations. And what are my expectations? Know me, talk about me, and be relevant to me. And also be fast and expedient and efficient. And then last but not least, an area that I think is going through a huge transformation as well is payment. When I started my career, and again, I'm going to date myself, you had cash, checks, credit cards in terms of form of payments. And really, the majority was still cash and checks in Europe, believe it or not. And now, look at all the ways that you can pay. Look at the Zelle of the world and the Venmos and all of these online payment and payment in partial payments and then full payments like credit, instant credit and things like that. I mean, ultimate frontier for payments continue to move, and new ways of paying, modern ways of paying are being developed, which to me are fascinating. And I think that is a trend that will continue to grow, that airlines are going to continue to embrace, as they should, because that is where our online experience is driving us. And it's an exciting area that I can't wait to see what's going to happen with.
Yeah, I've really hit things across the whole customer journey. And the airport element, I completely agree with you. Branchspace has participated in and is still participating in IATA's digital identity POCs. So our Trip Lake on the Go module, which powers mobile apps for airlines and travel retailers, has been active in that and actually proved that full biometric digitization from the second you buy a ticket to the second you land is possible, but it comes with major transformational needs from airports as well. It's not just an individual business transformation. It requires a community to really rethink their infrastructure and sometimes their laws. So it won't come easy, but we'll get there, and Branchspace is there to help. All right. Well, we're coming to the end of our episode today. And although I'm very sad to have you both depart with all of the amazing things you've offered, I do have a couple more follow-up questions. We like to ask everyone on this Future Picks podcast. I'll start with you, Joelle. And that is, what are your top 2 bucket list destinations right now?
Wow, great question. I hadn't thought about that in a while, but let me just say this. So, sadly, I have never been to Australia, believe it or not. So, Australia is definitely on my bucket list of destination. And if you think about a beach destination, of course, you have to have a beach destination. Tahiti is one place where I would really like to go. I've seen so many beautiful pictures. So those are really the 2 destinations on my bucket list, Clarissa.
Awesome. And you, Lamia, what are your top 2?
I love travel. So for me, I always have some destination. And in fact, in 2 weeks, I'm off to Cambodia. So I'm excited to see the Angkor Wat and explore the beaches there. And the destination on my bucket list would be in the south of America, close to the Amazon. So I want to go there, just explore the whole rafting and things, and also the Dutch Caribbean. So I'm excited to go there as well. So these are on my bucket list.
I really appreciate you both taking the time today. That was fabulous for coming on the Branchspace Future Picks podcast, talking about all different types of things from your next destination journey to the transitions across different markets in OOM and NDC, and what the future of AI looks in regards to personalization, airports, and biometrics. So I'd love to thank you both, and we really appreciate your time and give you both one last shout out, and we'll see you all next time.
Thank you for having me.
And Joelle, it was a great conversation. Thank you. And Clarissa, great questions. Thank you for giving us the opportunity. It was great
I did
conversation.
enjoy
My
it. Yes.
pleasure. My absolute pleasure.